Hey guys, welcome back to our second episode of the Last Call podcast. Today I have two new very special people. Let me go ahead and let them introduce themselves.
Hi guys, I'm Sammy and I'm from CDR Llamada Final Long Beach.
Hi guys, my name is Britney and I'm also part of CDR LLAMADA Final Long Beach.
On today's episode, we're going to be talking about my testimony, but before we get started, our sister Brittany is going to go ahead and lead us into a prayer.
Señor Jesús, en esta hora te damos gracias, Padre, porque nos has permitido, Señor, estar en este momento, Padre. Te pedimos que tu Espíritu Santo sea nuestra guía, Padre, que seas tú, Señor amado, poniendo estas palabras a nuestras bocas, Padre, que podamos edificar las almas que vayan a ver esto, Padre Santo, que se edifiquen, Señor, que se puedan, Señor, conectar, Señor, en el mismo sentir que cada una de nosotros, Señor amado. Pongo a cada una de nuestras vidas en tus manos, Señor amado, y que sea tu Espíritu Santo revelándonos lo que tú quieras, Padre, hablarles a los demás, Señor amado. Te damos gracias por este momento, Señor amado. Te damos gracias por lo que vas a hacer, por lo que ya has hecho y lo que irás a hacer aún todavía, Padre. Damos gracias, Padre, Hijo y Espíritu Santo. Amén.
Amen.
Okay, so sorry guys, because I'm a little bit nervous. But basically, just gonna be talking about like the beginning. So basically, I had the privilege of being able to be born, when my dad, ya estaban en los pies de Cristo. But before that, like everybody before they get to los pies de Cristo, when they were in the world, they all have a past, right? So, I'm gonna talk a little bit about my dad's past. So basically, my dad, when he was in the world, he him and my stepmom, there was a time where they were about to get divorced, so they split a little bit. And in that time that they split, that's when my dad met my mom. So, my mom and my dad got together, and then eventually things didn't work out because my dad came to the realization like, hey, like I have a wife, I have kids, this isn't what God wants. So he left my mom and he went back with my stepmom to make things right, obviously, in los ojos de Cristo, so when they left and him and my mom got separated, during that time, that's when I was born. So my dad and my stepmom were together already at that time, and then it was just my mom by myself. So I grew up in a household with two parents and also in a household with just one parent, just my mom, and so basically growing up, like I said, I had the privilege of being born into an evangelist, like, um, I remember being little and I remember I grew up going to church. So ever since I was little, like I loved to sing to God and praise God with singing. So like I would always be singing to God. Like I remember like even like at my little age, because I was able to speak pretty fluently since I was little. I was always just such a yapper, always talking. So I was able to sing, So ever since I was little, and I'm so grateful to my stepmom, because she helped me with that. Like she'd always be like, "Sing, Ashley," and yeah, like when you're little, you don't care what other people think, so you're like, "Go ahead, like yeah, like I'm gonna sing, praise God," like, and it's like I feel like that's sometimes like how we have to be nowadays. Like we don't have to care what people think, like like just focus on God. So like that's how it was when I was little. So I love singing. Whenever there would be like plays, oh, I was there. Whenever there was danzas, I was there singing. Like there was a time I think me and this other little girl, like at such a young age, like we sang in front of the whole church, and we did not care. We probably didn't understand what we were saying. But like it was just like me praising God through singing. Like that's what it was. Like my mom even has like pictures. I think there's one picture right there too. Like, and it's just of me like closing my eyes with the velo, praising and singing God. So like those are just like the memories like that I have of always wanting to praise God with through singing to Him. Because yes, I've always had that anhelo to learn instruments, and I know I'm gonna get there. Because even like when I was younger, I knew how to play like a couple instruments. Like I was able to play the piano. I knew how to play the xylophone, the ukulele. I knew how to play the drums a little bit.
And alto sax.
Oh yeah, and alto sax. I played that in middle school. So like I've always, but it's just always been singing. Like that's how I feel like like I can praise and get closer with God. Does that make sense when I'm singing with Him? But so ever since I was little, I remember going to church, but also because in one household with two parents, it was a Christian household. But with my mom, it was a Catholic household. So I do also remember going to a Catholic church, and I remember like not liking it at all. Like it was like ever since I was little, I was like, this is not right. So like my mom, when I would go to Catholic church, she would pack me like a little bag with coloring books and like my toys and like snacks, because I could not pay attention. I could not sit down and focus. But oh, don't let it be the other church because I'm there singing, I'm there praising because I'm like, this is what feels right to me, which is crazy because even at a young age, I'm like, the other church, like a Catholic church, well, at least to me, like, I'm not trying to offend anybody. But for me, it's not me. Like, I didn't feel comfortable. I was like, okay, we're kind of praising something else here. I was like, I just want to praise God, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. That's all I knew ever since I was little. So, that was also a constant battle for me because, one thing about me is I feel like I'm such a people pleaser. Like, I do not wanna hurt other people. I'd rather stay quiet about how I feel if I know it's gonna hurt somebody. So, for me, I never said anything to my mom being like, "Hey, like, I don't like this," Like, and especially because like, also for my mom, that's what she grew up with. So, for her, it's like, "Esas son las cosas de Dios," you don't say that about God and, like, the Virgin, like, and what they believe in, right? So it's like, even if I would say that, like, being little, like, I'd just be like, "No," like, cause even my grandma, like, she knew at such a young age, like, she told me, like, we would go to, like, restaurants, right? And even before I would eat, I'd be like, "Señor, señor," like, I'd be praying for not I didn't know how to fully pray, but I'd be like, "Señor, señor," and she'd tell me she would always be like, "Stop, Ashley, like, there's people around." But me at that young age, I was like, "Señor, señor," like, "Thank you," "Thank you, God." And so, but again, like that was just always such a constant battle ever since I was little. So, when you're little, you don't truly realize that, right? You don't see that. It's just kind of like, oh, like, why are you telling me no? But when I go over here, it's like, yes, it's okay to praise God. So, anyways, as I was growing up, I got to the age when I thank God, at least for me, I never drank or I've never smoked or I've never gone to like parties. I've never done anything like that, right? But for me, I guess what you could say was my biggest struggle was my mental health. A lot of people didn't know that, because I didn't really like, want to express it, especially again because since I'm telling you, like I'm such a people pleaser, like I was scared I still kind of am, so I still have to surrender that part to God, to help me. But, so I remember when I first had my encounter with God because, yes, I always grew up going to church, but it's like my parents did that. And yes, it helped, and I'm so grateful for that, but I still truly didn't have like, I was praising God, but I didn't have that encounter yet. Like, I didn't have like, wow, like, I knew I needed God. I knew God existed. I knew like I loved praising Him, but I didn't have that encounter with God. So it wasn't until middle school, it got to a point where something switched in my life. It was, um, I went from having daily routine to not having one and it being differently. Okay. Um, and that honestly, I'm not gonna lie, it was the worst year of my life. It was so horrible for me, but again, I never spoke about it. I never said anything. I never wanted to because I didn't want to let people know, because it's like for me, it's like I would see it as there's other people struggling out there. They have more worse things going on. So I was like, for me, it was like I was like my only biggest struggle, I guess you could say, other than my mental health, was me battling with having separated parents.
Right.
Because, I mean, I guess, for me, I was blessed. I have two mothers. I have my stepmom and I have my mom, and I have my dad. So I had three parents. Some people only get two, some people get one, some people don't have any at all. But for me, growing up, I would always like hear my friends being like, "Oh yeah, me and my mom and dad are going somewhere with the whole family." And it's like, yeah, like, "Oh, me and my mom and dad," but it's also like my mom, you know? I always wanted that experience where it was all of my family, everybody. But again, because we all have like our battles, my mom and my dad didn't really get along.
Like that needing of like being in communion, ese
Yeah.
anhelo de estar en comunión con
Yes.
tu familia.
Yes, of just wanting to be able to like have my family all together. So, when I was little and I would see that, like, I'm being honest, I would cry, but in private.
Wow.
Like, a lot of people were like, oh, like, yeah, she would never complain about, like, oh, not being with her mom. And it's like, I wasn't that, like, I miss my mom so much. I needed my mom. It was mostly that, like, I wanted that union, that family, that having the people I love together and not having to leave one or leave the other one. So, that for me hurt a lot because I'd be like, why God, like, why do I have to have two households? Why do I have to go to the school with one and then the weekends I have to leave to the other one? I have to keep going back and forth, bring stuff back and forth, back and forth. I couldn't really hang out with my friends on the weekend if I wanted to because, oh, I would have to go to my dad's house on the weekends. Or if I wanted to stay, like, no, I couldn't because, oh, I have to go back to my mom's during the week for school. So it's like I was so blessed. I always had two households. But sometimes, like in those moments, you're like, I just want to be in one. Like I'm like I don't. I'm like, and that in those moments, like I was like it was. I was at the age where I understood now. Like I knew I had two families. I knew I have to keep going back and forth. And it's like when you're little and you see that, it's like, oh, like, wow, like, okay, that's not that bad. I get to go two places. I get to be, let's say for my birthday, I get to be celebrated twice. Like, it's happy, yeah, in those moments. But it wasn't until I had one birthday. I believe it was my 10th birthday, I believe. Um, and I had it at my mom's house. And I was able to thankfully I was able to invite my brothers, and my brothers came, but I couldn't invite my dad and my stepmom. So it's like in that moment, it's like, wow, okay, I have family. I see my people, like I see my family like together. But it's like, oh, like my stepmom and my dad are not here. And those people are truly important to me. And I remember thinking like, oh, like I'm being celebrated, but I have to wait until next week to celebrate with my dad and my stepmom and my whole brothers and all my. So I always had to wait, to be celebrated. And but in that case, like I was being celebrated, but I couldn't be celebrated with everybody I wanted to. And it's like, okay, so that's when I saw it and I comprehended, okay, this is how it is. I'm just gonna have to keep going back and forth, you know? But like I said, it wasn't one until I got to middle school and it things got changed. Okay. I ended up flipping around. So instead of going to my mom's on the weekends, sorry, during the week, I was going with my mom during the weekends and I was at my dad's during the week, right? And to me, because I think it was also because everything since I was born all the way until I was like 11, 12, that's where it changed. So I was like, okay, I was like, this is weird, this is different.
Yeah, cause like going to your mom's on the weekdays is all you ever knew, basically.
Yeah, like during the week, like school, moms, weekends, dad. Okay, so that was always in like, okay, I knew. But that to me also because I had somebody speaking in my ear telling me, "Wow, you're gone. You left me. Like this hurts. You're not here anymore. I miss you." And that when you're little, it's like, oh, like dang, like I hurt her. I messed up. Dang, I did bad. Like I wanted a little bit of a change. I wanted an experience, of it being differently, but then it's like somebody talking in my ear being like, "Yes, I love you, but you hurt me. Yes, I love you, but you did this. You left me." So, and I think that took a big toll too. And so it was seventh grade year, and I'm sorry, but it was the worst year of my life. My grades suffer. I had friends, but they weren't really my friends because growing up, I had the same friends since elementary school. So I've always been, even to until high school, until I graduated, like we were still, like I knew these people from elementary school. So I came over here. Like I said, my grades took a toll. It was horrible. I was struggling a lot, like a lot, a lot. I couldn't keep up. And then that's when I started struggling with my mental health a lot too, because I was seeing things differently. These are new people, right? And so for me, I'm not allowed to wear makeup, right? But I'd see people putting makeup on. I'm like, wow, they're so pretty. Like okay, like I want to do this, like wow, like it makes them look so pretty. And obviously I wasn't allowed to. So then with my mental health came along self-image. I started getting depressed because I didn't like how I looked. And I think that's why I tend to compliment people a lot on their looks. I'm like, wow, you're so pretty, or wow, you're so cute, because I didn't have that. Because it's like, for me, it was like, yeah, it's my parents, but I feel like we always think like, oh, our parents have to tell us, that we look cute because they're our parents, like they have to say these type of things, right? But um then here I was seeing people, and they were being fake towards me. Like they would be like, oh, like look, like she's not wearing makeup, like. And then to me it's like, yeah, I'm happy now that like I maybe I didn't get to wear makeup. But when you're little and you're starting off in a new school, and it's like, and people are talking all this smack to you, it's like, okay, well now like it's like, okay, that hurts. And it makes you like want to, I guess you can say, be influenced on what you're seeing.
Or like try to fit in with
Mhm.
other
Yeah.
people, like, cause they do certain things, like I want to do it too.
Yeah, get
And
that
I feel
feeling.
like that, like as teenagers, like now, like I see it now also. Like
Mhm.
I feel like there's a lot of teenagers that want to like be like the other person. Like if someone cuts their hair a certain way, you can see everybody with that haircut.
Like, especially now as well, like trends and stuff like
Yeah.
that. It's so easy to be like, oh, this is trending. Oh, I have to go do it now.
Yeah, especially like with social media. Like you see something, you want to do it.
Exactly.
So, and that was my case at that time, because I had already had a phone. Social media was already a thing. Like it was like now in times. So it's like we grew up with like
Mhm.
having like seeing people like on the internet. So, because I think because I was already in such a dark time, because I had people telling me in my ears, like, you did all of this, right? And then I have other people telling me in my ears, like, wow, you're like, I'm a new girl too. And it's like these people came in with people they already knew from elementary school. So everybody already had their own groups, right? And it's like, I didn't feel like fit in, right? So I had friends, but it wasn't like we clicked. It was kind of like, oh, I see her in my class, like I'm gonna go sit next to her or go eat lunch with her, right? So that's when I was struggling a lot, like with it wasn't like depression, but it was like I was sad. I never had thankfully thoughts about killing myself, but I was really sad. And I did like have like a lot of pain in that way, because I thought I hurt somebody that I truly loved, and I didn't want to do that. Now that I've grown up and I've seen it, I've seen like, okay, like I didn't, it wasn't that I hurt you, but I understand I did leave.
Mhm.
But again, so like it just all those thoughts came into my head. So I was struggling with my self-image. And then I was also struggling because I would get home, and this person would call me and then be like, "Oh, you left me." So it's like I kind of wanted to talk about how I felt, but I also didn't want to tell them. I didn't want to tell anybody how it was, because to me those problems didn't seem major. It's like, oh, I just see myself like as like I saw myself low, but I'm like, but it's not a problem. It's not like I'm struggling with something really bad. So point is, I would keep everything down, like in, shove it in, shove it in, shove it down, 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 down. Like I wouldn't bring it up, wouldn't talk about it. Like be like, how are things? Oh, so good. Like I love it. Like wow, yeah. But again, grades horrible, like so bad. And I've always been a student that it's like I've always had good grades. I've always had diplomas. I've always had honors roll. I've always like gotten certificates. So that it was just like horrible, horrible, horrible. And but I would always say, oh, it's because I didn't learn that at my old school, because it came from obviously different districts. So I was like, oh no, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. But truly, it was just because I couldn't focus. I was so sad. So like, I guess you could say I wasn't heartbroken because it wasn't like I was in a relationship, but I was heartbroken that I left somebody that I loved.
Yeah,
If that makes sense.
like you were kind of like your mind was just on the fact that you were with one side of the print, and then your other print, like you're like,
Yeah.
like you're kind of like in between of both.
Yeah.
Like you're in the middle, and you're like trying to like like complacer at one parent, and then the other parent you're like, oh my god,
Yeah.
like I'm trying to not just be on this side, but I'm trying to be on this
Yeah.
side. Like I'm trying to balance both of them out,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. So, point is, I remember, one time, we went to this camp, and it was with this camp with like our casa, like our home, Yamel Final, Ontario, right?
Mhm.
And they did a camp, and I believe it was with Ontario. I think it was. I'm sorry, I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure it was. But point is, we had went to this camp, and before we went to this camp, and that's when I like really started thinking, and like I was being horrible and being like, God, why? Why'd you have to give me separate households? Why can't I just have two parents? Why can't my life just be a quote unquote normal?
Yeah.
You know? And yeah, so I was just thinking all of that, you know? And then again, God, why can't I be pretty like this person? God, why can't I look like this person? And then because I'm comparing myself also with people who have normal lives, like my friends, and me thinking, oh, it's because I'm struggling through all of this, so this is why I look like this, or like
Yeah.
I would find an excuse, and I'm like no, but in my head, like that's what it was, that's what I was struggling with, and so point is, we get to this camp, right? And I'm like, okay, like I love this because again, I always grew up with going to church. So like I loved any chance, any opportunity I would get to go to a service and receive, But then again, it's like I never because I would push everything down, I wouldn't let nobody see that. So I would always get to church and be like happy, Like I would not let anybody see that because even everybody like, oh, you look so like happy, you like, and like
Always happy.
yes, like always smiling, and I'm like, yeah,
Yes.
and that's a big thing. People would always be like, "Oh, you're always smiling." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm always smiling," but it's like, what am I hiding behind my smile?
You're right. Because I feel like as like many youth,
Mhm.
like I feel like anybody can identify with this. It's like people see like you smile, like you're happy, but behind doors, behind that smile, like there's so much struggles that as youth we go through,
Yeah.
and it's like very harsh, and you try to like hide it
Mhm.
and just bottle it up to
Yeah.
yourself, but only like you know what you're going through,
Yeah.
right? Like you smile because you don't want somebody else. At least me, I don't like putting
No.
my problems towards other
Yeah.
people.
No. Yeah.
Like
Same.
what I'm going through,
It's
I'm gonna
like
keep
I'm
it to
keeping. Yeah.
myself, right? And I'm like, jeez, like
Mm.
always, like
Yeah.
you're always smiling, but only God and you know
Yeah.
what you're going through. And like I feel like sometimes it's not good to keep in your feelings, but I feel like once you let them out with God, like en tu intimidad con Dios, like you really let it out, and God is just so understanding. Like nobody else will understand you how God understands you,
Yeah.
right? And I feel like it's like, yeah, like
No.
definitely like
Yes.
it's very harsh. Like some people don't understand, but it's like it's a reality as many youth live,
Yeah.
Like you go through so much mental health like things. Like
Mhm.
it's super harsh on youth because all of us go through different things on a daily
No. Yeah.
basis. And some people think like, oh, because le sirven a Dios, adoran a Dios, or you're preaching or you're
Yeah.
singing or you have a liderazgo, they think your life is perfect. And
I
it's
know.
not like that.
No.
Like
Yeah.
we all go through so many things. Like maybe I go through things that you don't,
Yeah.
but you go through things that
That.
I don't. And I feel like sometimes it's like, like sometimes to think about
Yeah.
that, there's a lot of things we all go through in silence, but only God knows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, and that was my thing. I would always smile, hide it. I never want, not even my parents. I didn't want them to know what I was going through. And I would pray to God. I'd be like, God, please don't, because you know how God speaks to people.
Yeah.
I'm like, God, please don't speak to these
Like, don't
people that
expose me.
yeah, I'm like, God, please don't expose me. Like, I don't want people to know that I'm struggling but
Yes.
I was struggling so bad,
I
like
also
so
think,
bad.
sorry.
No, you're good, you're good.
I also think that's why like many youth they like find different outlets to let their feelings out
Mhm.
because they feel like they can't talk to anyone.
Yeah.
But I feel like once you have that encounter with God and you have to like really have your heart like you have to open up your heart to
Yeah.
receive from God to like feel that liberation. And like honestly, you feel so free once you can get like all those emotions out that you like look back and you're like, "Well, why was I doing this to make myself feel better if I could have done like had a relationship with
Yeah.
God this whole time?"
Yeah.
Right, like how she says, like there's a lot of youth now that really like try to cope with their feelings and harming themselves, drinking, partying, doing drugs. And it's like I've always said it, like after you do all of that, like you don't feel happy. Like
Yeah, you still have like that hole in you, like that's
exactly.
hurt.
And like that void that you're trying to, like try to fill in, like you're only gonna find it in God. Like your partner's not gonna make you happy, your best friend's not gonna make you happy. Like you can like really find that what you're looking for in all these things in God.
Yeah.
Cause like God is like everything.
Yeah, he's the answer.
He's the answer to everything. Like he understands you. Like
Yeah.
I've always said that no one else is gonna understand me but God. Like my feelings, God knows that. My heart, God knows it. Like
He even knows
within
them before
you know, so
yeah.
exactly. And I feel like it's very harsh on youth, like to try to cope with their feelings and do all these things. But it's like after you still feel that emptiness, you still feel lonely, sad, depressed, and it's like you're just harming yourself. Like once you have an encounter with God, like trust me, things are not the same. Like things change, and sometimes it's hard to understand because you're like, bro, I want to live like my teenage life, like quiero disfrutar. But it's like when you have an encounter with God, you have these experience with God that are so like sobrenatural, you know? And I feel like getting filled with the Holy Spirit is like the
Better
best
than
It's
anything.
the most beautiful
it's
thing
the most beautiful thing that you don't think about partying, you don't think about like anything,
No,
but you just want to be a los pies de Dios, like rendirte completamente a Dios y decirle, sabes que Dios, like yo no puedo, pero tú sí puedes, like you know what I feel, you know what I think. And I feel like it's like you that like have to understand that, and it you only understand it once
Once you
you have an
experience.
encounter and once you have an experience with God, really.
yeah, and that's true. Yeah, yeah, and that's what it was. Like I said, I would hide again. Didn't want to let nobody. Like I never told one person at all, how I was feeling, how I was struggling so bad. And it wasn't until we went there, and like I said, I always grew up in Los Pies de Cristo, and at the age, it was in fifth grade, I believe. My parents became pastors. They had their church. I would help with those niños. And like I said, I would always serve God, and I always wanted to. It wasn't that I never was forced to, because no, I was never forced to. I always wanted to. But and I loved it, but I still hadn't had that one encounter with God that I needed. I so desperately needed. So we went to the camp. I remember, and I can still remember the face of that one hermana, right? She was barely walking, and I already started falling.
She was like, oh, she got me.
Yeah, I was like, oh, she got me. Like, oh, she knows.
Esa mirada.
Yeah. And then she comes up to me, and she's like, God tells you, he sees that you're pushing everything down. Like,
Oh my God, I feel like when someone like cuando Dios te habla así a través de alguien, you're just like you're just not the same. You're like Dios, like you stay surprised because you're like, wow, like you're like, oh my God, like how does she know? Like he doesn't even know.
yeah. Yeah, and that I think that's like the one of like the most beautiful things is like when God uses somebody that you don't know,
Right.
somebody that you've never told anything to, because it's like in that way, like I feel like also like with newcomers, and it's like they don't tell you anything, but God speaks to you,
Yeah.
and then you tell them what God spoke to you. They're like, whoa.
I think it makes it like even more special because it's like who also know this like besides God.
Yeah, like
And it is super shocking because I feel like when somebody, like cuando Dios, like I said, like habla a través de alguien de esa manera, you're just like, whoa, God, you seen that? Like, God, you heard me? Like, she doesn't even know me. Like, I just seen her right now. Like, I don't know. I probably don't even know her name. Like, how does she know? But it's like así trabaja Dios. Like, and it's like he does that so you can see, like, sabes, like, yo estoy allí. Like, I've always like had this in my heart. Like, Dios siempre ha estado. Like when you're crying, when you're happy, when you're by yourself, like
when you're with
God
like,
sees everything. And when He uses people in that way, que te habla a través de esa manera, you like you like thinking, you're like, wow, God, like you actually see me, like you see me crying, like and it's just like it's so amazing, like because you feel seen, like you're like, yeah, okay, like Dios, like estás conmigo, like a veces pienso que estoy sola, pero tú
No,
estás ahí, you know?
because as much
And
as you don't want it in growing up, you have those thoughts like, God, where are you? Like,
Yeah.
why do I feel like this, God? Like,
yes.
I know you're real, but where are you? Like, why do I feel like this? Why aren't you help me? Yeah.
And I feel like cuando más solo nosotros nos sentimos, it's like when God is like so close to us.
close to you, yeah.
But we just feel so like I mean no personal.
Yeah.
Like there's days where I just feel so lonely. I'm like I probably text my best friend and she probably doesn't answer me. But it's like en esos momentos son donde Dios quieres que
Yeah.
que tú te acerques a él. And it's like don't look for anybody else because nobody else is gonna be there but God, right? And so I feel like in those moments it's like you feel so lonely, but God is like right next to you.
Yes.
And it's like sometimes you don't feel it, but he's like right there. Like
He's like
literally
literally like right here.
probably looking at you like, come on, I'm right here.
Yeah.
Like let it all out. Like I'm here to listen to you. But sometimes like as youth, and I'm talking out of experience, like you try to look in everybody like
Yeah, and everything,
like
everything.
yeah, you try to look in people like for them to tell you something like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm here for you. But when you really need them, they're not there. Y el único que está es Dios.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's hard to understand it. But when God makes you live it and see que nadie más va a estar ahí más que él. And it's like, yeah, like it's cool, have friends, like let it out with your friends. But the best thing you can ever do is let it out.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the best thing as youth we can do.
Yeah, because also I think a big thing about me was that I earned and yearned, not earned, sorry, yearned for so much love, but it wasn't that I was looking for love in a person, like in a relationship. It was not that. It's just because I felt so low, I needed love, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like, I knew I was loved because it's never that my family has made me ever feel unloved. I knew I was loved, but I needed to feel loved.
Like that hug del Espíritu Santo.
Yes.
Because like
Yes.
also sometimes like I know como jóvenes nos preguntamos, Dios, si tú eres real, ¿por qué me dejas pasar por la tempestad? Like
Yeah.
why would you let me keep walking and walking and walking in darkness? And sometimes I feel like God uses those moments, like he knows the perfect moment where he's gonna touch you. Y que like te vas a rendir a él. And you may be asking yourself, well, God, where are you? But he's like, clama a mí
Yeah.
y yo te daré la respuesta, you know?
Yes. And like I feel like also like adding on to that, like Dios is like he's just so like amazing. Like his timing is so perfect. I feel like sometimes we have to hit rock bottom. Like you have to lose everything.
Yeah.
You maybe have to lose your best friend. Maybe you're in a relationship, you have to lose that person that you probably love a lot. You have to like maybe, I don't know, lose a parent, lose somebody that you're super close to. So you can understand que Dios va a estar ahí, Y it's sometimes like you have to hit rock bottom to be like, ¿sabes qué? I only need God.
Yeah.
God is all I need.
And like, that's
Yeah.
true. I think that's why I'm so happy I had that change. I'm so happy I left from my original what I was doing and I traded to something different because that if not I wouldn't have experienced this. And again in those moments you're like, God, like why did I do that? Like
where
why'd you
are
let me?
you?
Yeah, like where are
I'm
you?
over here crying. Where are you?
Yes, like I'm over here suffering, I'm crying, like please, like where are you? Like you're not.
And
And it's
it's like as youth we always ask God like why me?
Yeah.
Like why can't I go with that girl? Like why did it have to be me? But it's like it is because Dios tiene un propósito. I've always like thought about it in this way. Like cada cosa que nosotros pasamos, sea un proceso, sea like for example you at the moment you didn't understand it, but now that you've gotten older, like Dios te ha enseñado el propósito el cual él te hizo pasar eso, te dejó vivir esa experiencia. So now like as you like as you're doing today, you're edificando otros jóvenes. And sometimes it's not easy because you're like, hello, like God, why am I going through this? Like why do I feel like this? Like I shouldn't feel like this. But it's like because Dios sabe el propósito tras lo que tú estás viviendo, right? And it's like, como dice la palabra de Dios, lo que hoy tú no entiendes, mañana lo vas a entender, right? And it's like, sometimes it's super hard because, like, you're in the middle and you just, a través del proceso, you're like, Dios, like, okay,
¿Dónde
I'll
está?
kind of learn my lesson, but where are you? Like, can we put an end to this? But it's like, he lets you go to a certain extent for you to be like, okay, God, this is why you made me go through this.
Yeah.
Okay, God, this is why I had to live this, hear this, see this,
Yeah.
And it's like, it's very harsh, but it's like, todo tiene un propósito.
No.
All of us were created with a purpose. All of the things we go through has a purpose. Even though today you may not understand what you're going through, but everything has a
Yeah.
purpose. Todo tiene un propósito y todo like pasa like con una razón, con un propósito. And it's like nada pasa si no es la voluntad de Dios, right? So I feel like from all these experience, like from your experience, I'm pretty sure you learned a lot. Like now you're in a different perspective, y lo miras y dices, wow, okay, like God, now I understand, you know?
Yeah, and that's true. Cause like in that moment, it's like, oh, like God, why do I feel like this? Like, why are you letting me go through this? But I'm so grateful He did. Like, I'm so grateful He did. And it's like for a lot of us, we all go through different things. We all go through different processes. We all have different struggles. But at the end of the day, vamos a ver la gloria de Dios after that.
And also, like, sorry to cut
You're good. You're good.
when I see you, yo veo la gloria de Dios. Like you just have like this such a pretty glow to you. And I told my mom this all the time, and I'm like, mira, Ashley, ella tiene el glow de Jesús. Like,
Yes, like es la gracia de Dios, definitely. Like even just talking to you, like like you say, we all go through things, pero like tú tienes la gracia de Dios y es algo muy hermoso. And I always tell you, like, girl, you're so naturally pretty, you know? Like you're so pretty, you're so beautiful, and it's like Dios like te creó, a su imagen, and I feel like it's sometimes just hard to understand, but you're like God really like he did this detail on me, he did this, like he did that, and it's like sometimes we forget and we want to change it,
Yeah.
but it's like God made you that way because he created you, like even the hair we have in our head, like he did everything, and like sometimes we don't understand, right?
Yeah.
Like me, I have a birthmark in my arm, and sometimes I'm like, I don't like it, but it's like God put it there, like He created me, like
and those special details are what like really give you life.
Yeah. Every lunad, every hair we have on our
everything,
body, everything.
yes.
Yeah.
And it's like once you think about it, you're like, okay, you know what? I'm privileged. God created me.
Yes. No. Yeah.
Like He did me like this, like He really did. And it's like sometimes it's like, cause you see the people around you, and you're like, okay, but she has curly hair. I wish I had curly hair. It's almost al revés. The girls with curly hair want straight hair, and the girls with straight hair want curly hair. But then you're like, okay, but you know what? God gave me straight hair, And it's like it's just so amazing. Like now we see things differently. Like as we're growing older, like we see things in a different view, different perspective, and it's just like you know,
And like I feel like we see things in a different perspective because tenemos más madurez. Like yesterday, oh, I was talking with Britney, right? And I was like, "Tú tienes una madurez like like más que tu edad, right?" And even you, Ashley, like I know God has give you like these like He has made you face these things para darte la madurez, porque ahora tú puedes ministrar a alguien más, aunque no sepas lo que ellos están pasando, pero tú los puedes ministrar a través de lo que tú has pasado.
yes. And like I feel like la madurez se like even you. I was telling Sam yesterday, I was like, you're 16 and you're so mature. Like there's so much 16-year-olds that are not mature at all. Or like there's even people that are like
older.
30 and not mature, you know? But like I told her like yesterday, I was like, la madurez se hace like con las cosas que tú pasas en la vida, right? Like los procesos que Dios te permite pasar es porque Él quiere crear un carácter en ti donde puedes tener la resistencia, la madurez, like todas las características que Dios quiere que nosotros tengamos, like la madurez, yo siento que like you get it by what you live, like your process, like what God has allowed you to pass through, and you're like, okay, I see this attitude, I don't want to be like that, so I'm gonna let God form me to what He wants, because sometimes you see other people and you're like, I don't want to be like her. I don't want to be like him. Like I want to be mature, And it's like sometimes like no, like you don't want to be more advanced. Like people always tell me they're like, "Tú eres muy madura para tu edad," and I'm like, really? Like I feel like I'm like, immature, but then like I think about it and I'm like, it's because es lo que he vivido. Like es lo que Dios, como Dios me va
Te ha formado,
caminando y
¿no?
formando. Yeah, that has made me the person that I can say that I am today. And I'm forever grateful. Y siempre digo, no soy yo. It's never me. It's
Yeah.
always God. Y la gloria es para Dios por siempre. Because it's Him. It's always Him. It's always going to be Him. And I feel like la madurez that we all have, la capacidad, la madurez that we have is all because we've all been processed differently. we all have gone through things that maybe other people don't understand that we do, you
Yeah.
know? And it's like, yeah, like,
No, yeah, and that's I think thank you guys for saying that because it's like there was a time where I didn't see that. I didn't see that in myself, you know? And it was a big process to get to where, where I am now, you know? But then again, so yeah, it was because I needed that love. And so when that hermana came up to me, she's like, God sees that you're hiding everything. You're pushing it down. Like, and I'm like, oh,
you like,
like,
you expose.
yes, you're exposing me, God. And she's like, God sees you crying. God sees when you're crying. God sees when you're sad. God sees when you're mad because you think you're the problem. God sees when, she was boom, boom, boom telling me everything.
Like your whole life, like
Yeah.
literally like your whole life. Because like I remember this one time,
Mhm.
this one profeta, I did not know him.
Uh-huh.
I was sitting down in the service, and he made me get up, go to the altar, and he literally said my whole life, and I was like crying, like
Mhm.
crying. And then when I watched the video, like the live
Uh-huh.
after, I was like, this man, like, he literally put my whole life, like, out
Yeah.
there. Like, yo sé que no fue Dios,
Yeah.
right? But I was so shocked because you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Can I interject with a Bible verse really
Yeah.
quick? Right now that we're talking about facing hard times, I was brought back to one of my favorite Bible verses, which is Jeremiah 29:11. And it says, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and future." You may be asking yourself, like, what am I doing? Like maybe God doesn't have a purpose for me. But no, he's not done with you yet. Like you guys, well, us as youth, like even older people, there's still so much you haven't seen yet. And to say like God is not done with me, no, he just keeps
Yeah.
going and going and going. And you may say, but where's God now? His timing is always perfect. God is never late.
Never.
You may be like, but what am I doing in my life? Well, God is waiting for that moment for you to come to him and like truly surrender yourself to
Yeah.
him. Give all of yourself onto him para que él te pueda bendecir y bendecir like en
Yeah.
gran manera.
No, yeah. And that's so, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No,
Isn't it so true? Because I literally have that Bible verse on my iPad because I was going to talk about that, like how it's so true. Like he knows the plans he has for us. That's why, and there, in those moments, you're like, this is harming me, but it's like, no, it's to prosper you. It's to give you
right.
hope and a
Mm.
future. It's to help you. And so, yeah, like in that moment, like I was like, God, like, why'd you tell her? Like, why are you telling her?
And especially
Yeah.
if like your mom or your dad's near you,
Yeah.
you're like, no, okay, let's go a little bit that way. I don't want them to
No,
hear.
no, for
Like,
me, it was a youth event. Like it was you, so it was all you. So it's like in the moment, like it's like, and it's so funny because that's like, again, I didn't want nobody to know. Again, that's why I was shoving it down because I didn't want nobody to find out about that. Nobody to find out how I was feeling. Didn't tell a single person that.
it's like you don't want to worry no
Yeah, I
one.
didn't want to worry no one,
Yeah.
especially because again, because I thought like it wasn't a big problem. But deep down, I thought I was a failure because especially because my grades were so low. And like in those moments where I thought I was gonna fall, I thought I was gonna do horrible. I thought that's when God would bring me to Psalms 46:5, where God is within her, she will not fail. God will help her at break of day.
Right? Yeah.
And that's something that held me up because even in those moments where I wouldn't ask for help with other people because truly the only person I needed to ask help for was
With
God
God. Right.
you know and like because I think it's like I would ask just be like, God, help me, but I didn't truly be like, no, God, I need your help, I need you. So it's like, yeah, that would keep me up, but I was pushing everything down, I wasn't bringing it up into the light. So that's what, like, when that mana came and she's like, God sees when you're crying, God sees when you're breaking down, God sees that you're trying to shove everything down, but it's like, no, like, God sees how you see yourself, but she's like, God just wants to tell you, like, you're my creation. I and I think that's what got me.
Mhm.
She was like, God's saying, like, you're my creation. I created you. You're beautiful because I created you. Like, tú eres la niña de mis ojos. And in that moment, like, I lost it because I would think of myself as like being so ugly, being so horrible. But it's like, no, like, I'm God's creation.
And it means so much more when it comes from someone that doesn't know your story. Like, a mí me encanta como Dios usa sus vasos. Like, Whenever we go to youth events, oh, I cry in the presence of the Lord. I cry like a baby. I turn out like after the youth event and they turn on all the lights, I'm like a raccoon and everything because La Gloria de Dios is like tan bella, you know?
Yes, I feel like after every youth event, I really like reflexiono y veo los jóvenes rendidos a los pies de Cristo. And I feel like you see that and you're like, wow, like
So beautiful.
it's so beautiful because they could be anywhere else, pero escogen estar en la presencia de Dios. And I feel like as youth, I feel like that's the best thing we can do. Because how many youth, well, I've seen many youth that like either they're killing themselves, doing drugs, drinking, like, and it's just so heartbreaking because you're like, only if they would like acercarse a Dios,
Yeah.
they wouldn't have come this far, right? And sometimes it's like we like, at least for me, I'm so thankful like que fui crecida en el evangelio, right? I feel like all of us were, yeah, all of us were crecidas en evangelio, and I feel like I would always be thankful to my mom because I feel like si no, no, I wouldn't know what I would be in life right now. I feel like ver a cada joven, like, like the youth event we just went to, like, see all
Oh,
the
that's so
jóvenes
beautiful.
danzando, yeah, like, danzando, cantándole al Señor, like, estar atentos a la palabra, because I feel like now in the generation we live to, like, it's like, get ready with me on TikTok, like, hacer sus videos on TikTok, and it's like, that's cool, but it's like, a veces, like, we wanna, like, make everything today, but it's like, sometimes we need to really, like, pay attention. And I feel like me gozo tanto en los eventos de jóvenes that we've been to. It's like ver a los jóvenes adorando a Dios con todo su corazón. And it's just so amazing to see that, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, I feel like this generation, like Dios la está levantando con un avivamiento.
Yeah.
And dice la palabra de Dios también que recibiremos poder cuando haya venido sobre nosotros el Espíritu Santo de Dios, ¿verdad? And I feel like this is the generation where God is like, si ese fuego ha menguado, like Dios lo está like ardiendo, like para que arda más, pero like tenemos que estar dispuestos, you know, because it's not gonna come easy. Like, we're gonna go through more things every day, and it's like, pero mientras nos agarremos de la mano de Dios y
Todo es posible.
yes, todo es posible, dice la palabra de Dios. Filipenses
4:13,
4:13,
todo
todo
lo
lo
puedo
puedo en
en
Cristo
Cristo
que
que
me
me
fortalece,
fortalece.
right? And it's like sometimes like we just have to hold on to God. Be like, God, no me suelto ni por nada. Like, aunque me pase esto, aunque, you know, like, aunque pase por tantas cosas, no me suelto de tu mano
Y
because
si no me puedo agarrar de tu mano, pues de tu pie.
el primero que me agarro because I feel like Dios is, he's just so amazing. Like, I don't know what I would do without Jesus.
No, yeah.
I don't.
No, yeah, and so like I was saying, like, she was just telling me all that, right? Like, tú eres la niña, was it was God speaking to her, you know? But like, tú eres la niña de mis ojos, you know? And then it got to the point where it's like, when she's like, por eso Dios te dice que tú tienes que entender que todo es propósito. I have a purpose, and it's so true because when I really like evaluated my life, because in that moment, it's like I felt like whoa, like I'm seeing everything. So, like it's like I'm seeing everything, right? And so in that moment, it's like, what? Imagine if, okay, it was only with my mom and my dad. Because my dad came a los pies de Cristo, thankfully, to my stepmom. Because she also grew up in el Evangelio, you know? And obviously, when they went off to the world, pues se separaron, you know? And they went away and they were in the world. But while they were in the world, that's also when my dad met my mom, you know? And my mom estaba en a different camino. You she still is, you know, but we're still declarando que va a venir a los pies de Cristo, you know? But because she's Catholic. So it's like, if my parents would have stayed together, I wouldn't have. Who would have known? Maybe I wouldn't have been in Los Pies de Cristo. Maybe I would be somewhere else. Maybe right now I haven't tried alcohol or smoked, but maybe I would have
Maybe,
had now.
yeah.
You know. So it's like in those moments you're like you're seeing it like God, why? But it's like when you see it, it's like I'm so thankful.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful because now estoy en los pies de Cristo. Estoy en un camino que quiero estar. I want to get closer to God. You know, and more every single day. You know, and I'm so happy like that even though it was a big process and I went through so much, and for me, like, I'm so happy I did. And she was like, God was telling me all of that, like, like, it's like, and I'm like, whoa, God, like, I'm so sorry, like, I see it now, like, I see what you did, like, and I'm so happy you did. And also, again, like, I was like, get like palabras, like, it's like, así yo también puedo hablar de Dios a my mom's side of the family
Yeah.
que no conocen, like, de Dios, help them, more people come to los pies de Cristo, because I feel like there's nothing better, there's nothing more beautiful than God and the
Exactly.
presence and being in it.
Definitely.
And I had this one moment where I kind of got into, like, not like a fight, but an argument with somebody, right? And like they would always like, oh, you only want to go to church, like church this, church that, It's like, oh, they're forcing you to go to church. But no, it was never a force. And like I'm so happy because in that moment I wasn't scared anymore because I knew I had God. So even though in that time, like something like like this person said some horrible words to me, I didn't feel like what's gonna happen after, because I knew I had God now.
Yeah, y que vienes
So
la
it was,
sorry.
no, you're
Well,
good.
like tenías esa confianza en
Yeah.
Dios, right?
Mhm.
Like those words wouldn't hurt you porque sabías en quién tú
Yeah.
confiabas, right? Y tú sabías que Dios pelearía por
Yeah.
ti, sorry.
No, yeah.
Because it's like sometimes people say words
Mhm.
that sometimes they
They
really
hurt.
hurt,
Yeah.
but once you're like, God, you know what? Dame eso que aunque me digan y,
Yeah.
like no dañe mi corazón because um it's sometimes like some words really
Yeah.
do hurt you and they stay in your head in your mind and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, por eso la palabra de Dios also dice en Proverbios 4:23, sobre toda cosa guardada, guarda tu corazón. Porque el corazón? Because I feel like that's the most sensitive
Yeah.
part of
No, yeah.
us that I feel like there's been times where I cry
Yeah.
and I just feel the pain in my
My heart.
heart.
Yeah.
But like that's why it's like por eso Dios nos dice sobre todas las cosas. Like you can save money, you can save the
Yeah.
phone, you can save the most cleanest shoes,
Uh-huh.
but it's like your
The heart.
heart
Yeah.
is like something you need to protect at all
Yeah.
costs because es ahí donde está todo.
Yeah.
Like ahí es donde crece, like si tú de verdad no le entregas tu corazón a
Yeah.
Dios, entra ese odio, esos celos, ese rencor,
Yeah.
pero es de cuando tú guardas tu corazón para Dios, en verdad tú no dejas que eso entre a tu
Yeah.
corazón. Y si entra, le dices, Dios, ¿sabes qué? No quiero.
Mhm.
I've learned something new now here en llamada final, es de que nos despojemos de eso, right? Decirle, Dios, no quiero eso. And I've learned here now en llamada final to ministrarte con
Yeah.
alguien. Let it all out. Sometimes for a long time I would never like I would always like I would keep it in. I remember I had a youth leader and like they would tell me like talk it out with us. And I'm like no, like I like to bottle up my
Yeah.
feelings because I don't like to be a worry for someone else. And I remember I would always bottle up my feelings. Like no one would know how I feel
Yeah.
because if you guys see me, if you guys know who I am, I'm always laughing,
Yeah.
smiling. Like you guys would never see me sad. Like come on guys.
No,
Like I
yeah.
would never like I'm always laughing. And I remember this one time he would tell me like, "Oh, let it all out." I'm like, "No," because I like to keep my feelings.
Yeah.
And I feel like now here, like I'm able, like if I feel something, I talk it out with someone.
Yeah.
O si no lo hablo con alguien, le digo, Dios, quítame esto, que
Yeah.
no quiero sentir esto. Yo sé que tal vez esa persona me dañó con sus palabras, pero que no dañe mi corazón.
Mm.
Like let it
Let it out.
let it out,
Yeah.
right? And I feel like I've learned that now,
Yeah.
and I've really like I've always known that texto, and I didn't really pay attention to it like
But it's so
now
true.
that yeah, like it's like wow, like everything does go to your heart,
Yeah.
everything you feel goes to your heart,
Yeah.
you know.
And as much as you don't want to let it get to you, it
It
does.
does.
And
Yeah.
it goes to your, I know, especially for me, like I'm so sensitive. If somebody says something to me, as much as I try not to cry, I cry.
Oh, me too.
I mean,
Yes.
especially because I know sometimes you have to be like, not be careful, but sometimes when you let your emotions out in front of people, sometimes they don't like really like know what to do. So like, yeah, why are you crying? Or
Like some people don't understand you feeling when
don't
it's
understand that, like how sensitive and like how I'm feeling. So for me, I cry. And
yeah,
honestly, it's good to cry.
it's good to cry it out.
And especially it's good to cry to God because you need to let that out.
Right.
And like especially because maybe you can't express your feelings to that person or express how you're feeling to that person because maybe like, oh, how would they react? What are they gonna say?
Right.
But ex- pray to God, and that's what I've learned to do.
Yes.
Like sometimes when I'm like in those moments where I'm like, God, like this hurt really bad. Like it's like I pray to God, and like I'm like, God, like please just take it away. I don't want to feel like this.
Right.
I don't want to let it get to me because it's true. Those words get to me. What this person was saying to me, it got to me a lot in the past, and it still gets to me
And like it
sometimes.
messes with your head. Like it really takes an impact and you're like, wow, am I really like this?
Yeah.
Like this person really sees me like this. Am I the problem?
Especially if that person is so close to you, you're like, okay, this person's so close to me and they see me like this and they're saying this about me. Is it true? Like, am I just blinded? Like, am I just not seeing how I truly? And sometimes I feel like that's the case. Sometimes
Sometimes you don't
so
see it.
yeah, sometimes
Yeah.
we're
You need
blind
someone
to our
else
own
to
self.
tell you.
Yeah,
when
sometimes
it's-
we are blinded by our own self, and sometimes we don't see when we're wrong or when we do something. But that's why it's like God just opened my eyes. Like come lo que te beneficia y
Déjalo de
deja
lado.
lo que no,
Right.
you know?
Y desechar lo
Yeah.
malo. Because it's like sometimes people, like, hay gente que sí se deja usar por el enemigo y te dicen palabras que saben that it hurts you right there and they hit you there. So you can be like, okay, yeah. Because they're super close to you, so they know que ahí te va a doler y ahí they go and they pick at it. And sometimes you're like, ugh, like, it
Yeah,
hurts.
that's why you always have to ask for God more
Yeah,
for
exactly.
wisdom.
And that's why they always say, like, agarra lo que te edifica, lo malo, deséchalo.
And like,
Because,
sorry.
yeah.
And like also like pastor is always saying like alguien que te like puede servir como piedra de trompiezo para ti. He's always saying that and it's always de my mouth.
Yes.
And that's like, shout out Pastor Alcantar.
Yes. And yeah, and that's so true because like sometimes, like I said, like we are blinded, and sometimes either we don't see it because maybe it is true, or we don't see it because it's not true. So that's why we have to have wisdom and know. So sometimes I know when, because El Enemigo uses this one person a lot in my life. So I have to also realize like, okay, like this person, she's not there yet. Okay, she doesn't know. So it's like I can't be sad or hurt by this person, or be sometimes because anger does get to you because it's like, wow, you're so close, like this, you're such an important person in my life, and you're telling me this, and you're like, me estás tirando todas estas cosas, but you have to realize it's not them.
Yeah, it is.
It's the enemy trying to.
And I feel like in those moments is being, se puede decir, usar el discernimiento. Because when you discern,
Yeah,
that's how you say it? Sorry, my English is kind of bad, guys. But cuando tú de verdad usas tu discernimiento, tú discernes cuando una persona en verdad te está diciendo porque te quieren corregir. Sabes que Ashley lo que hiciste estuvo mal. But when it's somebody else that it's like using tactics to get at you because sabes que estás avanzando, like they want to say things to discourage you, to be like, sabes que, like, you're doing this mal, like, and that's why it's muy bueno tener el discernimiento like this, because you're able to be like, sabes que yo sé que ese fue el enemigo, y tú sabes cuando esa persona es de Dios, y puedes discernir y decir, sabes que, ok, Dios, yo sé que tú me estabas corrigiendo a través de esa persona, pero también hay personas, hay que ser, que se dejan usar por el enemigo, and it's like, you need to have el discernimiento and be like, okay, I love you. I can love you a lot.
Yeah.
Pero what you're saying, nada que ver. Nada que ver. But it's like you have to have el discernimiento. And tú tienes espíritu, you know. Like even sometimes there's people que they get close to you, pero tú sabes, like, oh, esa persona se está acercando a mí, pero sé que they don't have good intentions. Pero los voy a tratar como Dios lo haría. Just because you're a bad person, I'm not gonna treat you bad, porque Dios no hacía eso. Like, Dios era bueno y aún así todos, casi mucha gente no lo aceptaban, mucha gente lo desechaba, pero Él amó aún así. And we could see it now, like, we don't deserve la gracia que Dios nos ha dado a nosotros. Like, todo Él nos los dio por gracia, right? Y Él se entregó por cada uno de nosotros. And it's like, por amor. And sometimes it's like, you have to really like see this person's word is hurting
Yeah.
me, but Imma still love you even though your
No,
words
yeah.
hurt me, right? Porque eso es lo que Dios haría. Porque Dios es amor, Dios es misericordioso.
Yeah.
And it's like sometimes we don't see it like that, sometimes we don't understand, but it's like you have to really tener el discernimiento. Because sometimes you can have a big group of friends. Like you could really have like a group
Everything.
of 10, you know, talk to them
Yes.
FaceTime
Or
24/7.
even like you can know somebody for so long. Like that happened to me recently. I knew this one person for so long, and it's like in that one moment where it's like when we've been waiting for something, they just switch up on you, and it's like, oh,
Right.
you know.
Yes.
And especially because it was somebody who could, like, you would think like, oh, okay, there's gente que ya está en los pies de Cristo, they know, but trust me, like we all
Yeah.
have our different paths, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that that person doesn't know, you know, but it's like we're all different, you know. And it's
Right.
like, okay, if they were able to switch up on me, it's like, oh, okay, maybe,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah, and I feel like sometimes Dios permite esas situaciones or those things to happen to us so we can see que todos nos van a fallar.
Yeah.
People that you love the most,
Yeah.
I feel like the people you love the most is the people that
Yeah.
they just, and I'm like, oh my God, why you do this to me?
Porque like en esta vida like nada lo tienes de seguro. Lo único que está seguro es like tu relación con Dios.
Right.
And honestly, like Ashley, tú tienes like mucha paz en tu corazón
Yes.
because yo te miro a veces and like no matter how much people beat you down, like you're still so kind and you're still such a sweet girl. And yo me recuerdo like cuando alguien me decía algo, I would get so angry and I would have to respond. Like I would have to, I was quick. But now, like yo rindo estas áreas de mí, like al Señor. And ahora, like en vez de contestarle a alguien que me está molestando, yo solo oro por ellos y le digo, Señor, por favor, like ten misericordia sobre ellos. Like yo sé que eres tan misericordioso, entonces por favor ten compasión sobre ellos.
And trust me, sometimes in those moments, like I want to snap back. I want to answer.
Yep.
Quiero contestar,
Yeah,
pero no.
because somos carne and like we have feelings and you're like,
Yeah, and I'm just like, no. I'm like, God help me.
I'm like, God, you changed me. Do not let me go back.
Please don't let me fall
Yeah.
again.
And I feel like, at least me, I feel like I've had so much people that I really admire. Like I had admired them so much. Y les tenía tanto amor, and I still have. I still have some. But sometimes, like, Dios permite que tú veas como ellos, like, they turn their backs on
Yeah, how
you
they are.
for you to be like, okay, you know? Like, I was talking to Sammy yesterday, and I was like, por mucho tiempo, mi mirada se había desviado y
Sí.
había puesto mis ojos en el hombre, en la mujer, y tuve que vivir algo muy fuerte para que en ese momento, like you, I didn't understand it,
Yeah.
right? Y ahora, now that I'm out of that situation, like, the proceso, puedo decir, por fe ya se terminó. I'm not in that situation and I don't live it now. But I remember that now I see it and it's like Dios me ha puesto in a different perspective and I see that situation going on. And it's like, es que Dios, like, He's now showing me tu mirada ya no estaba puesta en mí, sino que tu mirada estaba puesta en el hombre. Y el hombre y la mujer te tuvo que fallar. Tenías que ver lo que tú tenías que ver para que tu mirada regresara hacia mí, porque yo no te voy a fallar. And now I tell everyone that's watching, I don't know when you guys are gonna watch this, but when you guys see this video, it's like, no pongas tu mirada en el hombre, no pongas tu mirada en el liderazgo, en los pastores, en los levitas, porque todos fallamos, todos cometemos errores y a veces, like, you have your eyes on people and you're like, oh my God, they're so, like, fire, like, wow. Pero Dios permite que ellos fallen y que tú veas cómo van a fallar para que tú sigas mirando a Dios. Because I feel like that situation that I lived, it really impacted me so much to the point where, like, I didn't want to go to church no more. But I was like, no, like, el hombre, la mujer, todos van a fallarme menos Dios. And now that I'm in church y he puesto mi mirada en Dios and I no longer am like, I love you too, pero amo a Dios. Y I creo que algo que he aprendido que pastor nos ha enseñado es amar a Dios sobre todas las cosas.
And then that doesn't mean that it's like that there's let's say like if it's a relationship, that doesn't mean that there's not that one special person that God has for you, you know? But like that doesn't mean that because of like, oh, because all these people failed me, I'm not gonna let anybody in. No. It's like always at least have, not at least, always have God on top. Like my dad said, not first,
Not
because
first.
you can always switch
You
that
could
up.
always switch that
Like,
up.
as much as you don't want to, like, it happens, but no, always have God on top.
On
He's
top,
the
sobre todas las
sobre todas las
cosas.
cosas.
Because,
Yeah.
like, once you have that, no matter what happens near you, around you, and I feel like that's why Dios me permitió pasar y ver cosas y, y estar en medio de una situación bien fuerte for me to see, like, look at what's going around and you let yourself get moved by that. Pero cuando tú tienes tu mirada hacia Dios, tú no dejas, puede estar peleando la vecina con la otra hermana, pero tu mirada está puesta en Dios and you're like, God, like, you're everything. Like, tú eres la verdad, tú eres la vida, tú eres todo para mí. And yes, and like now I feel like mi mirada after this situation that happened está puesta en Dios now because I had to learn my lesson. Y Dios nos permite ver cosas pasar y pasar experiencias fuertes que tal like sí duelen because we're humans, we have feelings, but it doesn't move you no more. It doesn't phase you no more. And it's like now I could see things y digo gracias Dios because en el momento no lo comprendía, pero ahora estoy en una nueva etapa donde digo nada va a mover mi mirada de Dios, nada. I had to learn it, and it was super hard for me. I would cry. Like it was super harsh the situation I was in and I was living in in church, like in just church in general. And it's like no one's perfect, just God. And it's like as us as ministras del altar, como adoradoras que estamos en el altar, like we can tell you we will fail you. We're human. We're gonna fail. And we're not perfect. Just because we're up there, we're not perfect. And I've always said that. And it's like, unless you have like a privilege or you have like a posición, tú vas a entender que no somos perfectos. Just because we're all in the altar, we sing y brincamos y danzamos y adoramos a Dios, no significa que somos perfectos.
We're just like you guys.
Yeah, we're like any
Yes, like we're human.
Yeah,
we
we're all
have
human.
feelings.
We all have bad
But
ones.
what I want, like for us, like for me to transmit to you guys is no desvíes tu mirada de Dios. Porque, like I said, el hombre y la mujer te van a fallar. Like I said, los pastores, los diáconos, los ujieres, los levitas, like todos vamos a fallar. El único que no falla es Dios. And I've learned it and now I see it. I'm like, gracias Dios, porque es una enseñanza que tuve que vivir para saber que mi mirada tenía que siempre estar puesta en Dios. Pero sometimes because of our emotion that we love people so much that you're like, oh my God. Yeah. Like, you know, and you admire people, but it's like you, por eso, like I've learned with Pastor, amar a Dios sobre todas las cosas. Tú puedes amar, like I can love you guys,
But it's
some of our
different.
people,
Yeah, always put God.
yes.
No, and that's why, like, going back to like that one part of my encounter with God, and when God was just speaking to me, right? It's like that helped me realize, like, wow, like God, like, thank you, thank you for that, because like how like Sister Brittany was saying, like, yeah, we tend to want to hide because maybe we want to look like perfect in a way,
Yes.
but again, no one's perfect.
No.
So I think that was my thing, because especially because I was already helping. And my dad's are the pastors. Like, I can't be looking like,
And like
I can't be showing people that I don't like myself. That I feel like that I'm like, I think so low of myself. Like, I can't have people thinking in this. But it's like we all have struggles. We all go through things. And in those moments, the only thing we have to look for is God. And I was looking for Him, but I wasn't surrendering my things to Him, and that's what I had to do. So that's why I had to go to go and surrender that to God. And even though I wanted to shove it down, I'm so grateful that God spoke to that hermana. She came to me. God gave me that word, and I let everything go. I I let that depression, that sadness go. I let me thinking so low go. Like, I left, because honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I hated myself at one point. I did hate it. I hated myself, because I thought I was failing everybody. And I let that go. I realized that God had everything done for a purpose. I realized that I'm a creation of God. I realized like, and not to sound like cocky, or anything, but like I realized my self-worth in God, you
Yes.
know?
I feel like
Yeah.
cuando Dios te sea y te marca y te llama, like, encuentras un valor incalculable en los ojos de Dios. And it's like, somos la niña de sus ojos.
Yeah.
Like, fuimos escogidas desde antes de la fundación del
Y
mundo.
fuimos comprados a precio de sangre,
Like no one's gonna give their son for me. Like I feel like if we would ask your dad, give one of your sons for one of us, he's not gonna give it. Pero Dios lo hizo por amor, por misericordia, por gracia, because we don't deserve it. We don't. Like nosotros, like I said, fallamos. Y no merecemos tanta misericordia, tanta gracia. And sometimes abusamos de eso. Abusamos de la gracia, de la misericordia de Dios, because He's so misericordioso, es tan bondadoso Dios que a veces I'm like, God, like, oh my God, like, you're so like, eres tan maravilloso. And sometimes we like abusamos de eso. And it's like, we don't see, like, Dios pasó por tanto y aún así nos ama con un amor incondicional. Nos sacó de lugares de donde nadie lo haría por nosotros, que it's like, how can we not be grateful? How can we not alabarlo, glorificar su nombre, adorarlo? Because it's like, we do it because we're thankful. Lo hacemos de agradecimiento because Dios nos llamó. Like, habiendo muchos, there's an alabanza that I remember that it's always like, habiendo muchos hombres en la tierra, something, Dios fijó nuestra mirada en nosotros. And it's like, it's so amazing to think that there's so many human beings in this world and you chose me. Like, tú fijaste tus ojos en mí. And it's like, I'll forever be thankful because I see people around me and it's like, you didn't choose them, but you chose me.
Like that's why, like, I'm so grateful that I had that encounter with God, because I needed to open up my eyes to all of that.
Right.
Like, so after that moment, like I was like, thank you, man. Like, and I was like, but thank you, God. Like, you helped me, you opened my eyes. I saw everything I had to see, and I truly value that so much, because like, I'm not saying I don't sometimes. It's like I'd never wanna go back to how it
Yeah.
was
To
before.
things, yeah.
And I'm so happy, because then after a while, it's like then I truly, cuando yo servía a Dios, like lo hacía de todo corazón. I didn't care anymore. Like, yeah, obviously sometimes but people say can get to you, but I didn't care anymore. I didn't let it get to me. I didn't let what those close people that were saying about me, I didn't let that get to me anymore. I still worshiped God because I wanted to, and I got to that closeness. And then I started growing more and more and more, started reading the word of God. I started yearning and declaring and asking God for dones. A big one that I always wanted was el don de lenguas, y el Señor me bautizó en el
Yeah.
don de lenguas.
Remember when I was little, all the pastora would pray for me, and she would like, tú tienes los dones de profecía, o don de lenguas, o don de sanidad. And I would like, ever since I grew up, I was like, I don't want them, porque hay un precio que pagar por los dones, and you have to go through a lot. I'd be like, no, Dios, like, I'm okay like this, you know? But then when I see, like, ahora por la gloria de Dios y misericordia de Dios, like, he visto esos dones, like, he podido habilitar esos dones slowly, and it's like, I, after, like, a veces, like, how you say, cuando Dios, like, comienza, tú usas los don de lenguas, you finish and you're like, God, like, I don't deserve this.
I want to kind of bring up another point. Like, I know a veces nosotros nos preguntamos, pues, si yo le estoy clamando a Dios, ¿por qué no me da, like, un don que yo quiero? Y algo que me hablaba el Señor es que yo no te doy algunas cosas que tú deseas porque you're gonna idolize them. And, like, He was really opening my eyes because I know sometimes, like, nosotros servir, like, ya es un gran privilegio. Y a veces like somos carne, y se nos puede inflar el pecho. Entonces, a veces nos preguntamos, Dios, pero si yo te estoy rogando y pidiendo, ¿por qué no me concedes like los dones? Because él sabe que te vas a desviar de él para hacer tu carne like como para glorificarte a ti mismo.
Yes, amen.
No, yeah, and yeah, that's true, because literally the day I got bautizada con el don de lenguas on the day of our youth event. I remember our Lego and like God. And literally in that morning, I went through a big process too. Like something happened where I kind of got into an argument with somebody, and I felt like, oh, like I was like, oh, okay, this just ruined it for me already. But no, like God had something special for me. God has something special for every single one of
Yeah,
us.
and even with that, like you see, like a veces el enemigo like usa like strategies. Sorry, I don't know how to say in Spanish, but he uses strategies to robarte tu paz because God, he's like, oh, okay, you just argued, ¿cómo vas a ir al altar? Or and I feel like just like an example, like yours, you got in an argument that morning, pero Dios tenía algo preparado para ti después, and it's like like I say, like Dios es tan misericordioso.
And I know que el enemigo was trying to rob my gozo because that day I actually invited my niece. I invited her and she went, and I was so happy. So even though like el enemigo me quería como like to rob that happiness, I still had to focus on what was good and what was God doing in that moment.
Pero ese gozo del Señor nadie te lo puede
Yeah,
quitar. Nobody. Nobody
So
or nothing.
yeah, so I was like already like, okay, I just kind of brushed that off, and like yeah, I kind of got to me, but like no, I'm not. I'm good. That I'm brushing that off, and I'm gonna continue. And so I was so happy. And then yeah, that's when it was towards the end. Cuando estaba ministrando, and and Pastora Amber came up to me. She's like,
Yeah, he knows.
ooh, and like as soon as like, cause I've always wanted that, and I've always been to like habla, but it's like I was like I don't know what to do. Yeah, like I'm like I don't know what to do. Like I don't know, like no, it doesn't come out. But I was just like I remember I was rocking back and forth. I was bawling my eyes out. She's like, habla, like God's telling you talk, 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 and boom, 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 it just came out. It came out. Estaba fluyendo, like it was like, and like I stayed there even after like they had finished praying. Remember, and I don't know if you guys remember, I still kept going. Like I'm like, and I felt my mouth just keep going, and estaba fluyendo, fluyendo. And in those moments, I was like, I was talking in language, but in my head, I was like, thank you, God.
Yeah.
Like, thank you. And even after, because not gonna lie, like, sometimes we think, oh, when we come to God, like, our life is gonna be amazing. No, it's not gonna be all sunshine and rainbows. We're still gonna go through those desiertos. We're still gonna go through, those processes. Because even after, I remember something happened, and like, it was like an enemy go trying to steal that ghost, and I'm like, no, like, I'm happy, like, ya recibí de Dios. Recibí de Dios, like, nothing is gonna stop me. So I was like, okay, whatever, like.
That reminds me of that one alabanza that's like, hay un gozo que no puedo parar.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
No.
definitely, because I feel like sometimes, like los dones son hermosos, right? It's the gifts from God, but sometimes like people don't realize like me. I think every time people tell me like tú tienes este don, I'll be like no. Like
Yeah.
I never en verdad nunca anhelaba dones de parte de Dios. I was like okay, I sing and I cry in the presence of God, pero nunca like I can say I never had an interest in hablar lenguas or nothing. Not because I was like me había conformado, but because like I just never, until one day I remember I went to the montaña and I was praying with my pastora and she started praying for me. And then she was like, oh, ahora like los dones like comienzan a fluir. And I was like 8, 10 maybe. I don't remember. I was really small. And I just felt like the language coming out. I just felt my mouth moving. And like I don't know that day I was like and then I got up and the pastora was like, hija, Dios te comenzó a dar lenguas. And I was like, really? Like I was like, hi, like hello. But it's like el tiempo de Dios es perfecto. And now que ahora like Dios like hablo en lenguas like every time like gloria a Dios because it's never me, it's always God. Y siempre le doy la gloria a Dios because sometimes tal vez tú estés pidiendo dones de parte de Dios, tal vez Dios todavía no te los ha depositado porque Él tiene el tiempo perfecto donde Él los va a depositar en ti. Y creo que a veces es, como digo, es hermoso tener dones de parte de Dios, pero es even más hermoso cuando Dios te lo da en el tiempo perfecto de Él. Siempre digo
Because
que
God's timing is always
God's
right.
timing is perfect.
Yeah, God's timing is
And
literally perfect.
yeah, and like sometimes you're like, oh, but she has this and I want
Yeah.
that. But it's like a veces no sabemos qué es lo que ha pasado a esa persona para obtener lo que ella tiene. A veces, sometimes I see like preachers on like Facebook y hay una gloria de Dios que I'm like, Dios, yo quiero de eso.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, wait a minute, no, porque han pasado desiertos y procesos fuertes that you're like, are you willing to go through what he's going through?
No, yeah.
And
And something that happens with anything. Like sometimes we just want like anything. Like it could be in las cosas de Dios or even like in las cosas like, in like our personal life when like it's like let's say like in a relationship.
yes,
Some people they really want a relationship,
yes,
they will but like, and it's just like no, wait for God's time.
Yeah.
Because
yes,
God's timing is always so perfect,
yes,
you know?
like they want to like, oh, like they're a cute couple.
Yeah.
I want to be like
I want to
them.
be like them,
But
yeah.
it's like Dios sabe el tiempo perfecto cuando Él te va a dar la persona
Y la
indicada.
and like the husband that he
Yeah.
has for you, yes.
And also,
Because oh, sorry, go me.
and also like he knows if you're willing to like go through those processes and like face all those difficulties, because like what you see in like other people, it has not come easy to them.
Yeah.
The walk with God, um Brittany is always saying this, the walk with God is difficult, but it's not impossible.
And it's definitely worth it.
It
It's
is
worth
very worth
Todo la
it.
pena, de
Yeah.
verdad, en verdad, joven o jovencita que estás escuchando, servirle a Dios y caminar en el camino de Dios no es fácil, pero no es imposible. Y te puedo decir yo que he crecido en el Evangelio desde
Yeah.
muy pequeña, que vale la pena,
Yeah.
porque no nomás sí lloras, porque el camino de Dios no es fácil,
Yeah. No, yeah.
pero Dios, Dios te da tanta bendición, te honra porque tú lo has honrado a Él. Y yo te puedo decir, joven, que caminar con Dios es lo más hermoso que tú puedes hacer. Creo que a veces no entendemos. Dices, ay, otra vez a la iglesia. Ay, vamos a cantar esto otra vez. Ay, no quiero ir a la iglesia. Pero cuando tú en verdad tienes un encuentro con Dios, en verdad, no importa qué hora va a comenzar el servicio, no importa, yo me acuerdo una vez fue una vigilia, that it was from like 10:30, they would finish like 5, 6 in the morning.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was like really not into like
Yeah.
things. I would be like, Mom, it's already 5 in the morning. We're barely going home.
No, yeah.
And we would live far from the church, and we would get home like around 7.
No, trust me.
So, it's really,
Yeah. Trust
like
me,
it's really harsh. But sometimes, like, cuando tú tienes ese encuentro con Dios, you're like, wow, like, this
Some
vale la pena la desvelada porque estás en la presencia de Dios. And when you're in the presence of God, you do not want to leave there, right?
No, yeah.
Sometimes I compare like our relationship to God to like having a job. You truly have to love what you do and you have to love it to be able to enjoy it. Because our services, for like someone like who has recently gone into the ministry, they're they're gonna be like, dang, a 4 hour service, like it does not need to be that long. But really we're like jumping up and down, we're shaking this like the altar,
Yeah.
we're doing everything, and we don't feel it. But we don't feel it because we love the connection that we have with God. And I'm so happy to say, like, from someone that came, like, I grew up in the ministry, but like yo nunca tuve like esa intimidad con Dios, y ahora lo puedo decir que like yo me gozo de estar en en la casa del Señor, porque yo sé like un día en la casa del Señor es mejor que 1000 fuera de ella. Y like ahora he comprendido el plan que el Señor tiene para mí.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and that's why like I'm so grateful to God that I had that encounter and that like I was able to like really open my eyes, because I feel like sometimes we all tend to not open our eyes and we just see what we want to see, and I kind of in those moments only wanted to see the bad in that because I didn't, I didn't want to bring it up, so like I was like, okay, I would see the bad, but boom, push it down, see the good. So I needed that encounter with God, and I'm so happy that I had that encounter with God because from there, boom, I moved on. I didn't want to look back anymore so that I can grow,
Tú
because
estabas usando tus ojos carnales y no tus ojos espirituales.
and I needed to not do that because God has big plans for every single one of us.
Right, yeah.
Like, God has plans for you, whoever's watching this, like God has something big in your life that He's going to do. And maybe right now you're going through something bad. Maybe you could be struggling with the same thing that I struggled, or maybe you're going through something differently, but God has something for you. God has plans for you, and then no matter what you're going through after, if you put your faith in God and if you put God first, vas a ver la gloria de Dios. Like God's gonna do like that's why like Jeremiah 29.
I love that verse.
Yeah, like you want to say.
Oh yeah, it says, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and future."
Yes, and that's so true, you know. He has a future for us. He has whatever you want, whatever you're thinking of, he has something for you. But again, it goes with the timing of
Yes.
God because
And
God's timing is always perfect. He's never too early, he's never too late. It's always on time when on God's time. And he has something good for you.
yes,
Like so good, something that you can
la recompensa is
like
always.
no matter what, like he has something good for you. And I
Yeah,
think
and even like an hermana from San Diego that he passed away, she even said like your decision, which you're, I think we're all, well, I don't know, us right here,
yeah.
we're all like we're going to college or you're going to work or you're going to school, like
Not yet.
consult your consult your decisions with God and really tell him like Dios, si quieres esto para mí, like tú abre las puertas, tú ábrame el camino, muéstrame tú el camino que tú quieres que yo lleve, ¿verdad? And I think so we can start closing it off.
Yeah.
I just want to leave, joven, te quiero dejar un texto bíblico que verdad lo tengo muy, mi mamá, shout out to my mom, me lo hizo escribir 100 veces hasta que me lo aprendiera. But este texto bíblico se encuentra en Jeremías 15:19, que dice, por tanto, así dijo Jehová, si te cometieres, yo te restauraré, delante de mí estarás, y si entresacares los procesos de lo vil, serás como mi boca. Conviértense en ellos a ti, y tú no te conviertes a ellos. Joven, ¿qué te quiero decir con ese texto? Es, tal vez todo el alrededor están haciendo cosas que tal vez tu carne desea hacer, pero no te dejes que ellos te conviertan. Tú párate y marca la diferencia en medio de las multitudes que te rodean, porque el Señor te llamó para este tiempo. El Señor tiene un propósito, te creó a ti con un propósito, te escogió a ti para este tiempo exacto y no dejes que las cosas del mundo te enreden.
Yeah.
So que deja que
Influence you.
don't let it influence you. Don't let yourself get influenced by other things. Cause maybe, yeah, partying looks cool, drinking,
Yeah.
and my friend, she parties, she gets it.
Yeah.
But es más precioso cuando te llenas de la presencia de Dios y ese gozo no se
Yeah.
va.
Cuando estás en el
Sabes,
camino, no se
partying,
It's
it
over like in a while.
yeah, like, y te quiero dejar con eso, joven, marca la diferencia. Sé tú la diferencia en medio de todos y acuérdate que fuiste llamado, fuiste creado con un propósito y no dejes que nada desvíe tu mirada hacia Dios.
No, yeah.
Todos van a fallar menos Dios y sigue avanzando, como dice
Yes.
al final, sigue avanzando hasta alcanzar ver la gloria de
Yeah.
Dios, porque sé que lo verás y sí, joven, con eso te quiero dejar. No sé.
Oh, I just want to add one more thing. En verdad, like, busca el rostro de Dios, porque tú nunca sabes si tú vas a ser la luz para alguien más que no conoce de Dios. Like, you never know if you're gonna be the blessing for someone else. Like, through your testimony, muchas almas, como dice nuestro pastor, vendrán a los pies de Cristo o se apartarán de los pies de Cristo. And I just want you to be mindful of the example that you're setting, you know? And just know that, like, in God, all things are possible, even the impossible. Not even the impossible is impossible for our God.
No, yeah. And that's so true. So that's why, like, even if you're struggling with something, if you need help,
Déjaselo a Dios.
déjaselo a Dios and just entrégaselo.
Rinde even though
Yeah, and as much as like our carne wants to like hide it, push it down, not bring it up, no, give it to God. Ministrate con alguien, that and let it out, because I feel like that's what we need to do a lot
yes.
sometimes.
And like
So
rendir todo tus cargas hacia Dios. Dice la palabra de Dios que dejemos nuestras cargas sobre Él, que Él nos hará descansar. So, joven, no sé cómo que con tú que estás viendo, no sé con qué estás luchando, pero cuando tú en verdad te rindes a los pies de Dios y sabes que Dios, yo ya no puedo con esto,
yeah.
me está doliendo o es muy pesado para mí. Dios, aquí estoy y entrégaselo a Dios. Él sabe qué es lo que Él va a hacer, pero pon tu confianza en Dios.
Just remember that God has a purpose for
Yes.
everything that you've gone through, every process that you've gone through, God has a purpose for it. And God is always going to have like big things for you. Just know that. But remember, it's in the timing of God. Everything is in
Todo
God's
el
hands.
tiempo de
As long as you surrender and let God, even though it's hard, but give it to God. Be like, Lord, I give it to you. It's in your control, and surrender it to Him. And just know the most beautiful, most amazing things are gonna happen. Because I've seen it in my life
Yeah,
already. You know.
and like solo confía en Dios.
Yeah.
Es lo mejor que tú puedes hacer es poner tu confianza y decirle, Dios, te doy el control, como dice la alabanza, suelto
Yeah.
todos mis deseos, todos mis anhelos, suéltaselos a Dios que Él sabe lo que Él va a hacer, Él sabe lo que tú vas a hacer en 10 años de
Yeah.
aquí, Él sabe el propósito que tiene con mi vida, sabe el propósito que tiene con Sam, Él sabe el propósito que tiene con Ashley. Y mientras nosotros sigamos sirviéndole al Señor, joven, tú, no sé si tú le sirves a Dios, pero mientras tú le sirvas con fidelidad, mientras tú le entregas tu corazón a Dios, Él te va a guiar hacia el camino que Él tiene para ti. Él te va a mostrar el camino, te va a mostrar su voluntad para que tú camines en obediencia hacia la voluntad de Dios. Amén. Y
Thank you guys for listening to our episode, Lord. Well, thank you for listening to my testimony. Hope you guys stay tuned for our next episode.
like,
Yes, we're not quite sure whose testimony we're gonna be talking about next.
But it's gonna be a good one.
But we know it's gonna be a good one.
para glorificar el nombre de
Yes,
Dios,
amen.
because everything we do is for His
God,
glory,
yeah.
to Him.
And
And yeah, guys, thank you
Thanks
for
for watching.